Okay, question 4. Brad planted 25 seeds in his greenhouse. He has read in a gardening book that the probability of one of these seeds germinating is 0.25. 10 of Brad's seeds germinated. He claimed that the gardening book had underestimated this probability. Test at the 5% level is significant. Brad's claim, stating your hypotheses clearly. All right, obviously hypothesis test. Let's just pull out what we need from the question. Brad has planted 25 seeds. That's the number of trials. That's going to be our n value. In the book, he was told that the probability is 0.25. Okay, so that's going to be our null hypothesis. We also know exactly what the value of P is from reading this here. 10 of Brad's seeds germinated. We're going to come back to that. 10 seeds germinated. That's going to be what we use for our test statistic. All right, he's claiming, this is his claim, that the book had underestimated the probability. What else do we need? 5% level of significance. All right, hypothesis test time. The null hypothesis is that the book was correct and it was 0.25. What does 0.25 represent? It's the probability that a seed germinates. Okay, the alternate hypothesis. Brad is claiming that actually the book overestimated the probability. If they've underestimated the probability is actually greater than 0.25. So the probability being greater than 0.25. Okay, coming back to the null hypothesis. This is all based on a binomial distribution where n equals 25 and the probability of success equals 0.25, meaning we can find the expectation. Expectation equals 6.25. We also have our significance level, 0.05. All right, so really all of this should be down before we go much further, and there's a few marks in this already. Okay, I'm just going to draw a diagram just to make it clear in my mind exactly what's happening. It's not an accurate diagram, but it adds to our understanding. So the expectation is 6.25. That's going to be somewhere near the middle. We're assuming that the probability of success has increased, meaning we're testing whether or not the probability of success has increased, meaning that we should get more than the expected value. So my rejection region is going to be over here. And I want the size of this to only be 0.05. So any value that I pick, if the probability that it's greater than or equal to that value, if the probability on the right hand side of that value is smaller than 0.05, then we're going to reject our null hypothesis. If it's not smaller than 0.05, we're going to accept our null hypothesis. So I will sketch the region that we do find on top of this, and we'll just see whether or not it fully overlaps or whether it falls inside of this region here. So what are we going to calculate? We're going to test that value that we found. So what is the probability X? Okay, so 10 of Brad's seeds germinated. It was more than he expected. He expected only 6.5 of them, 6.25 of them to germinate based on this binomial distribution. So we're going to test what if it was 10 or even more. So since we're already above the expectation, we're going to go even further above the expectation. And this is what we're calculating. We know the tables are not set up for greater than or equal to statements. We need something that it's less than. So a 1 minus the probability that x is less than or equal to 9. And this is something to type into your calculator or to look up in the tables if they're available. So that's 1 minus 0.9287, giving us an answer of 0.0713. Okay, so if I was to add that to the diagram, it's going to come all the way up to here. It's bigger than 5%. All right, so it totally covers the rejection region. I have no need to reject. Formally, we're going to compare this with the significance level, and it's greater than the significance level, and that also leads us to understand there is no need to reject the null hypothesis. This could well have just happened by coincidence, even though the magazine's estimation of the probability is correct. We don't have enough evidence to reject H0. So just to finish off with these two statements, for the final 2 marks, there's not enough evidence to reject H0. And if you remember, H0 was the magazine's claim, so there's not enough evidence to reject the magazine's claim. Okay, and that's what we're looking for in a hypothesis test. Okay, and a well laid out hypothesis test like this will be worth all of your marks.